What's up, Lasercast fans? It's Danny, and I'm here with
Charlotte.
Yep, she knows her name. I guess I don't have to introduce her. She's almost 10. It's kind of crazy. We just filmed, the Lasercast did an awesome podcast with Tony and Lori from Ghost Girl Greetings, and that's going to be up on the channel pretty soon. And on that podcast, we were talking about the best Christmas horror movies ever. And our number one was Black Christmas from 1974. Not the ridiculously cheesy and gory 2006 remake, and certainly not the 2019 movie. The less said about that, the better. We're talking the 1974 original, starring Olivia Hussey, Keir Dullea, and John Saxon, as Robert Englund once said his name to me. Yes, you know who Robert Englund is.
Continue with the podcast.
Freddie?
Oh, I didn't know that.
You had to know that.
I don't know actors.
You've been disowned. Bring in the other child. Okay. So yes, Charlotte and I, we actually, before we even filmed that podcast, we watched Black Christmas. And this is the type of relationship that we have. It was, I think, a Tuesday night. And we were like, hey, what do you want to do? It's 9 o'clock at night. And she's like, well, it's kind of almost my bedtime. And I'm like, yeah, you're right. Want to watch Black Christmas? So we watched Black Christmas. And yeah, first of all, the two of us are going to talk some spoilers. So if you've never seen the 1974 Black Christmas, it's 46 years old, guys. You should go check it out. It's streaming on Shudder. We watched it on Shudder. It's freaking great. All right, and it's the Lasercast #1 Christmas horror movie, but you'll find out about that on our next video. All right, so we're going to talk about Black Christmas now. What did you think of the movie?
Okay, so it was really scary. No, not scary. Creepy.
Yeah, you made a big point to say
I said
creepy.
that several times. Several.
I know. So what was creepy about it?
We have this on the list. The creepy phone calls that nobody knew were from the house. All we knew that was a killer in the house. That's all we knew.
Yeah. The phone rang earlier today, and just like a half hour ago, the intercom phone rang.
And I said I thought it was Billy.
She was like, "Oh my God, I thought it was Billy calling."
And when I heard the phone, I was like, okay, just answer it.
Yeah, it was like a package being delivered. It would have been really weird if she was like, "Who is it?" And he was like, "Let me in. I need to deliver your package." Yeah, the phone calls in this movie are really disturbing. And I think that Olivia Hussey does a really good job. At the beginning, I do kind of feel like they make it seem like these prank calls are happening for a while, and she's kind of like, who is this? Who is this? Like, you know who it is. It's a prank caller. But by the end of the movie, she's like, the look on her face looks genuinely terrified at what's happening. And, like, you could totally get that, because these are some
When someone tells you to get out of the house, get out of the house.
Yeah, probably a good idea.
Unless it's the killer itself.
Well, yeah, and that's another thing. And again, we're talking spoilers here. But, when people think the calls are coming from inside the house, most people think of the classic When a Stranger Calls, starring Carol Kane and Charles Durning. That came out in the late 70s. Black Christmas came out in 1974. And this was the first movie to do that trope. Speaking of being the first movie to do certain tropes, what did you notice right at the very beginning of this movie? Like the opening shot.
Oh. That it was kind of like Halloween?
This is why we take notes.
That it was like Halloween.
Yeah, so why was it like Halloween?
Because it was a killer's, perspective.
Good, yeah. And the movie starts, the literal first scene is just a point of view shot from outside of the sorority house. And we don't know who it is, and he's peeking through the window, and he ends up climbing up the trellis outside. I live in an apartment. I don't know what that's called. But he climbs up and climbs into the attic window. And she even said right away, this is very close to Halloween. And in fact, this movie, again, came out 4 years before Halloween. She was shocked to find that out. She was like, oh, this is just like Halloween. I said, no. Halloween is just like this movie. Bob Clark, the director of this movie, did a lot of things first in the horror genre. Considering that this is also the guy that did A Christmas Story and Porky's. So he's got like weird sex comedy. He's got seminal Christmas movie. And he's got Black Christmas. Interesting filmography there. But yeah, this is the first seasonal slasher movie. So the idea of like a horror movie set on a holiday. So
It's
like,
really weird.
yeah, we have Halloween, obviously, and then pretty much in the 80s, every day of the calendar gets its own horror movie. You know, there's an April Fool's Day movie. Yeah, I'm not even doing that as a Fool's Day joke. There is, and it was remade, so there's actually two.
April Fool's Day.
Yeah. Ooh. Let's talk about some of the other things that were really creepy in this movie. The deaths, right? So the first death in the movie is a girl named...
yeah.
Go ahead.
Claire, whatever her last name is. Oh, Claire. Oh, she was so creepy. She's a nice little girl. Okay.
So how does she die?
She gets pulled into a closet.
Yeah, and she gets suffocated with the plastic bag.
Yeah.
And her body just gets left in a rocking chair in the attic. Yeah. And they just keep coming back to it, and it's just genuinely creepy.
Nobody sees her.
No.
It's so high on the window. Nobody sees her.
You know, there's also the character of her dad is there, and, you know, being a dad, that's like a horror in and of itself, is the, you know, your kid doesn't show up when you're supposed to meet them. Your kid doesn't show up when they're supposed to meet you. Cat starts scratching at the
worst moment.
And, you know, obviously we find out later that, you know, he never finds her body. We just, you know, he's just there left assuming that she's dead. Which is terrible. Plus, her, you know, her boyfriend is looking for her, and her boyfriend Chris has the single greatest jacket.
Look at that coat!
Yeah, I had to keep pausing it and yelling, "Look at that coat!" And I read on IMDb that the actor Art Hindle still owns that jacket to this day, and I want to find him, have him put the jacket on, and I want to take a picture with him. And then I want to ask him if I can wear
Nightmare
the
on Elm Street
jacket.
has to do with this movie as well.
Yeah, so explain.
I forgot her name's dad.
Nancy.
Nancy, okay. Nancy's dad is in this movie from Nightmare on Elm Street. And,
John Saxon.
yes, the police officer. And he's still a police officer.
Yeah, John Saxon became a lieutenant in 1974, and he kept that job all the way until the early 1980s, 84, I think, when the original Nightmare on Elm Street came out.
One decade later.
Yep. I mean, he was a good cop. So, the one of the main issues of Black Christmas is, of course, who is making these phone calls and who is committing
character.
these murders. And you were convinced the whole movie that it was...
Peter.
And
It's
why?
Peter. It's
Who is Peter?
Peter.
Okay.
Peter is, I forgot her name's boyfriend.
This is why we take notes. Jess.
Jess is a boyfriend.
For the last
Yes.
hour. Can we do the video now? This is why you prep.
So Jess's boyfriend Peter, he was acting really suspicious, and he was just lurking around and being crazy. He's a psychopath.
Yeah, well, what does he do that makes him look even crazier?
He hit the wrong keys on the piano. Oh my god, as a piano expert.
Yeah, she takes piano, she plays piano, and there's that super intense piano playing scene where he's like getting judged and he obviously messes up. And then how does he take it? What does he do to the piano after that? When this video is over, I'm going to hi-ya you. Yeah, he takes the I don't know what it is, a giant stand and mic stand, or the music stand, and he just beats the ever-loving heck out of the piano and destroys it. I think I tweeted after we watched this movie, killer or not, Peter is the villain of this movie. He is as horrible a character, not a character, he's as horrible a human being as you could be in a horror movie without being the killer. He's a semi-abusive, at least emotionally abusive boyfriend. He obviously has tremendous anger issues, and, you know, at the end of the day, he wasn't that good of a pianist. Who plays Jess? Where did you know her from? Olivia Hussey.
I know her from 1990 It, Bill's wife.
Yeah, it's kind of funny. Charlotte loves when we watch a horror movie and she knows the cast members from other movies. So the last 2 horror movies we watched were The Fog, where almost everyone in the cast was in another horror movie. She knew who, obviously Jamie Lee Curtis and Nancy Loomis were both in Halloween. Stop it. She knew who Janet Leigh was from Psycho. She knew Tom Atkins. Basically everyone in that movie she knew. In this movie, she knew who John Saxon was, of course. And whereas everyone knows Olivia Hussey as Juliet in the 1968 Romeo and Juliet, she screams out, "That's Bill's wife!" Because we went through a big It phase. In fact, her birthday's in a few days, and one of her 2 horror-themed birthday cakes is an It cake.
Oh, we should have put that as a thumbnail.
Oh, well, no, that's going to be, don't worry, we'll get that in there. So, one of the other things I want to talk about Black Christmas is how genuinely funny
Barb is.
This movie is. Well, the whole movie, but Barb especially. But again, this is Bob Clark. He does this movie and then A Christmas Story and Porky's, and he is horror and he is comedy, and this movie blends those really well.
Is that Miss May?
Miss Mac.
Miss Mac.
Oh my God, Mrs. Mac, the house mother. Her interactions with Claire's dad are genuinely hilarious. Plus, she's pulling out bottles of booze.
Alcohol.
Yeah, she's pulling bottles of alcohol out from like everywhere.
Who?
Yeah, where does she pull the alcohol?
Toilets.
She pulls it out of the toilet.
Book.
Yeah, she has the book. That'd be great if we could like pull one of these books off the bookshelf and there'd be like a nice flask of booze in there.
Not for me. I'd rather have chocolate milk.
Probably.
Sprite, probably.
Sprite or chocolate milk, yeah. What about Barb was funny?
Barb was feeding the kids Ikahoo. I call it Ikahoo. Yes, he was. Or it was... Yeah,
well, she was getting sloshed the whole time, and then she started giving the carolers and the kids in the neighborhood.
Ikahoo.
Why do you keep saying that?
I don't want to say it.
Like it's a bad word?
Yeah.
She also has the amazing scene at the police station where she gives the officer the prank phone number, and that scene gets paid off later in another hilarious moment. Kind of went over her head for obvious reasons. And yeah, I mean, this is a genuine classic. This has everything you want in a horror movie. It has it has a great score. It has a creepy killer. Tired much? It has a creepy killer, and it actually has a mystery attached to it, which is great.
The mystery is you think the killer is dead, but then... Billy's still there. There is a Billy.
Yeah. Like, so, again, we're talking spoilers this whole time, but Peter, who is, again, the creepiest human being, like, Jess ends up in the basement of the sorority house with a killer after her, and then Peter just shows up outside the basement window, kicks the window open, and creeps in, and she's like, I knew it. I knew it was Peter.
And Peter was creeping behind the tree outside the sorority house. Did I say it right?
Yes.
Yay.
And Jess kills Peter. And
Good job.
she was like, oh, whew, he's dead. Good. And it's not, and one of my favorite horror movie endings, the slow pan from the attic.
The creepiest girl's face.
Yeah, you have Mrs. Mack's dead body in the background. You have Claire with that, just the plastic bag or plastic dress wrap over her face. Creepy, and Billy's making his Billy noises, and the camera pans through the window and out onto the street, and you can see, right? You can see Claire's face a little bit, but nobody notices it, and it's,
Is there any doors with a little like peek through it? Because I'll be waiting for.
I don't know.
I'll be waiting for eyes.
But This is everything you want in a great slasher movie, in a great whodunit. This is Horror 101. This is an all-time classic. One of the best horror movies probably ever made. And again, I know the 80s. Everybody loves 80s horror. I love 80s horror. I grew up in 80s horror. But man, just 1974 had Black Christmas and the Texas Chainsaw Massacre. That's ridiculous. 1973 had The Wicker Man and The Exorcist. Like, come on. The 1970s are just, they're the gold tier of horror. Halloween, I think, took the tropes that Black Christmas established, and I think it perfected them. But Black Christmas is up there as an all-timer. What do you think? She has seen a lot of horror movies, especially this year, especially thanks to quarantine. So where would you put Black Christmas on your list?
Well, my first favorite, I have to say Sleepy Hollow.
But
Second favorite has to be The Fog.
All right.
I have to put that as my third.
So where would you rank this, like, compared to Halloween? Which movie scared you more? Yeah, I think she was genuinely creeped out. The Billy calls, the attic scenes, the scene with the going back to Claire's face. That noise is my cat behind the television.
The thing is, like, I feel like old horror movies, like the things like The Shining, I thought it was gonna be terrifying because people considered it as like one of the scariest movies of all. Like, but when I saw it as a future person, a kid, I didn't find it too scary because it was like in the past.
But this movie movie's 6 years older than The Shining.
I know.
And it was even scarier?
It was even scarier than the most scariest movie of all.
Yeah. I mean, as her dad, who sat there and watched these movies with her, The Exorcist is up there. I mean, The Exorcist ended and she bawled hysterically.
I did my...
But this movie is up there. The Fog genuinely scared her.
Actually, I'm going to switch The Fog with Sleepy Hollow.
Yeah. Like, I think for her, this movie is genuinely scarier than Halloween because this is a girl who has a Halloween blanket. She has a Michael Myers doll that one of the old Spencer's gift ones, when you press the belly, you get the dun 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 dun. Oh my God, there he is. Okay. Michael's right behind me. But yeah, Black Christmas, the OG 1974, this movie is a classic. And if you want to hear more about Christmas horror movies that we love at the Lassercast, check out our video coming with the Ghost Girls, Lori and Tony from Ghost Girls Greetings. That will be up on the channel very, very soon. Danny.
Charlotte.
And happy holidays, and we'll see you soon.